Since 1945, Weatherby's been building the finest firearms and ammunition in the world. And today, we're proud to continue that legacy from our facility in Sheridan, Wyoming. This is On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
Welcome back to On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast. We're talking about mule deer hunting today. Adam, Koby, you guys just got back from a pretty cool express trip after, let's say, maybe some challenged efforts using less efficient means of hunting. Is that okay?
Sure, Luke.
That is a good description.
Well, you know, archery hunting, the only thing it kills is PTO.
That is some words of wisdom that I got from Adam one day.
Well, we make rifles, and there's just a bunch of people around here all the time who are talking about their almost killed bulls and bucks every week, and they just go burn their PTO, their personal time off, and then they go out, take a day, kill things with a rifle. So it's more efficient.
Yeah, I like to say you hunt with the bow, but you kill with the rifle.
Yeah, I think it's the end of September, and I'm about 7 or 8 days of PTO in, killed with no dead bull.
I don't say that to knock it, though, because I love time in the field, and I love the difficulty of archery hunting. I think it makes you a better hunter.
It does.
Yeah, and stresses you out a little bit, but yeah.
No question. No question. Adam, you had a little run-in with this.
I found a real nice buck that I liked here locally in the summer, and kind of scouted him out for a long time and found out his patterns and went out there many days during archery and was unsuccessful in tagging the buck. And so, but it was fun. Got so many great stocks, and got close to him. Well within 100, many times within 50 yards, many times, and so it does make you a better hunter. And so it was an absolute blast. But I really liked this buck, and he was in velvet, and then he wasn't in velvet, and time. The hours turned into days turned into weeks turned into months, and I grabbed my rifle, went and did a thing.
Well, yeah, so it's not, it wasn't quite as simple as that, because where you ended up going to grab your rifle is not the same buck. It was going somewhere else.
Correct.
There's certain areas, every unit's a little different on when rifle season opens, but you were able to pause on that guy for a while.
Right. I just, as a general tag holder for Wyoming residents, you're right. Some rifle seasons, let's say out in Western Wyoming, open September 15th, and they're a lot earlier. Our local one here in this particular unit where this buck is October 15th. Mm-hmm. That's a long time when you're sitting around watching a buck. And so I ended up, this buck ended up taking off because I blew him so many times.
Yeah.
He got angry and upset, and so I'm just really bad at it. And so he got angry and kind of left. And so then last Monday morning, I walked into the office and I said, "Koby, what are you doing today?" And he goes, "Well, I was probably going to edit some videos and do some work." And I was like, "Well, there's 2 days left over in Western Wyoming in my favorite unit. Let's go head over and spend 2 days up in the high country looking for some bucks." And then I kind of fully had it in me, 50-50. Maybe we'd find something and maybe we wouldn't. And if not, I'd hold out for this buck, see if it came back October 15th. But that's kind of the start of that story. And so that morning, Koby got up in Sheridan and went to sleep somewhere else.
Yeah, well, definitely wasn't expecting that when I showed up to work. But I've learned of working here is you don't know what to expect.
Expect the unexpected.
Yeah, you get a lot of stuff thrown at you. It's other duties as assigned, right?
Correct. We've mentioned that a few times on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Tyler and I were having our weekly creative chat at 10 a.m. there, and Adam pops in and basically is like, "Pack your bags.
Let's go.
We're flying to a different part of the state."
I think right before that, Adam might have been like, "So how busy is Koby going to be this week?" I was like, "You know what? There's there's only so many days of hunting season, so
that's right.
He'll make up time later."
So you guys decide to jump over to a different part of the state and start chasing an area you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what was the game plan? Express hunt. How do you
that was Monday. Season was going to close Wednesday. And so I knew at that point it's 10 a.m. No bags are packed. We got hundreds of miles, to go. And so, I did fly over there and got a vehicle over there to go hunt out of and stuff. But so it was just going to be 2 days. I quickly decided I just spent some time in the backcountry with Brenda, chasing some things up in Montana, and just put away all my backpacking stuff and the jet boil and the sling bag. And so I do have a buddy over there where we're going to hunt that has a cabin. And so I said, let's just, it'll be really long 2 days, but let's sleep in a bed for 2 nights and just have a kitchen or whatever, not backpack in. And I knew where we'd be hunting, be about 3 to 5 miles in. So the game plan was, it was like a 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. type of situation between
Those are long days.
getting up in the morning, driving to a trailhead, and then packing in and trying to get to where we were at first light. Both days we were 20 minutes late. 20 minutes later than I wanted to.
The second day we shouldn't have been 20 minutes late. We had our time down that day, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, it was frustrating.
That sounds like someone forgot something.
No. Someone just took off following a fence line because there was a fence line on the public near
And
some
it
private.
looked like the property border that we were supposed
So we're
to
like,
follow.
oh, this is it. We got off the road, and I'm like, this is the steepest hill I've ever climbed in my life.
It was
And
just straight
I
vertical for
knew
breakfast.
a guy who'd done it on horses. This was kind of like a shortcut way to get in. I thought, golly, how are we going to... This is crazy. And we were huffing and puffing, hours before the sun came up, sweated through our clothes super early in the morning. Finally get to the top of the hill, and if the straight line on Onyx was like this, like we did this,
Oh.
and it was like the way the road turned, the property line was not at the fence line. Well, actually, there was 2 fences basically, and we took off on this one instead of this one and had to come back down completely. We climbed several hundred feet the first 20 minutes straight up, and we were 20 minutes late to our glassing spot. I had it factored in, but anyways.
Well, that's nice. That was day 2.
Yeah, it was day 2.
Well,
yeah.
what day 1 look like? You got there and you're hiking in. And,
Yeah.
And you haven't put eyes on this place in a while.
Yeah. There was, bad winter kill here, winter before last, in a lot of parts of Wyoming, and so I actually gave last year off out there after hunting there 4 years in a row, and that just in that part of the state, and so I hadn't been there in a while. So this was just go in blind and see what we could find. I knew that the quality of bucks were probably there, the quantity was not going to be there. I had no idea that on Monday. Tuesday, whatever day it was, second to last day of season, 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. hunting day, I saw 0 bucks. 0. Didn't see a spike.
Not one.
And we almost didn't see any deer. We hardly saw a deer the whole day.
Like literally at first light, saw 2 does, and after the sun went down, Koby at like 3.5 miles away in the
It's
super
5
high
miles.
country, 5 miles away, got a couple does and fawns.
No bucks.
And this is an area where normally, dozen plus bucks that you're going to find in a day,
Yeah.
and you're selective.
I mean, we glassed our butts off. It was not just like sitting next to each other. We'd split up by a couple hundred yards to get different vantages into the shadows, glassing all day. You maybe took a 5-10 minute nap, and I took a half-hour nap midday, and it was just glass all day.
Yeah, we did 9.5 miles, 2,700 feet of climb, and any moment we weren't moving, it was behind the glass, and normally where you'd see a lot of stuff, and we just didn't.
Except elk. It was a rut fest in there. We physically saw over 10 bulls, one really beautiful 6-point, and they were just bugling the entire day. I mean, had to ignore them. It was
bugling,
painful.
playing in the wallows.
How close did you get? The closest one?
Well, we didn't really get close.
You weren't trying.
Well,
That cow in the morning, we were under 100 yards.
but the bull's a couple hundred or something,
Yeah.
And
I have a 8-minute video of probably 300 yards in that swirl of a 4-point wallowing for 8 minutes
Just going to
straight.
town.
Yeah,
Just
and
like a
just
kid in the
trees
bathtub.
getting raked. I mean, it was elk all day, and you had to ignore them.
It was crazy. We saw 0 hunters out both days. Never saw a hunter out there. It was extremely hot. So,
It's been hot here.
it's been a very hot end of September, and so it was extremely hot. We knew there weren't a lot of bucks to begin with. A lot of guys had harvested some good bucks already, so the odds were not going for us.
The week you were there, we set a record for the hottest it's ever been, as late as it's ever been. We hit triple digits last week, I think, while you were out.
Really?
Here.
Wow.
What?
And then it happened again yesterday. So
did we hit triple digits yesterday?
We hit 98 yesterday.
Yeah, that's what
Billings
I
hit
saw.
triple digits.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But still 98 was the hottest that it's ever, like it's never
Wow.
been 98 on the
Wow.
end of September.
Basically the last day, yeah.
Yeah.
Tyler's had some run-in with weather as well.
Yeah, it's just been warm. So I've been trying to chase elk with the bow, and it's just been real warm. So
Yeah.
it's funny how, though, different parts of the state, different elevations, it's just like, can be a light switch, though. You guys were in Rut Fest all day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're the last week of September. Things should be rocking, and I didn't hear a bugle in 2 days when it's like, I know there are elk here. kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
It's tough.
It was beautiful, though. I mean, the cool thing about being able to rifle hunt, into September out there in the high country and stuff, just the trees, the aspens. I mean, the colors were just absolutely
It's gorgeous.
gorgeous. So, really, really beautiful country for
Yeah.
sure.
Super pretty, and it's also that time of year where I personally run warm when I'm hiking. So I had a long sleeve on, the Hush long sleeve you have at Stone Glacier waffle hoodie, and I mean it was a temperature where you're hot and sweating, but you're cold at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And it's just like that time of year, right?
yeah,
It's
because
a
you get
great time
wet.
of year.
Yeah, you kind of get, because you get
Yeah.
sweaty, so you get
Yeah.
wet. So that breeze just kind of like,
Yep.
it's kind of bone chilling when you get that breeze on you.
Yeah, that. I love that weather, but it also is frustrating. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, what do I do?
I'm hot and cold. What
Yeah.
do I do? Yeah.
So day one, nothing.
Real
Not
quick,
a bug.
I'm a little
Yeah.
curious. What is your glassing setup like? Like, are you a tripod guy? Binos on a tripod? Are you always your spotter on a tripod?
Yeah, well, we had between the two of us, we had just my 10 power Swaro EO range binos. Then Kobe had the 16 power stabilized SIGs, which is super handy.
Those are
with
great
that
for out there.
stabilization.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Then we jumped up to my small Swaro ATC, which is 17 to 40.
Yep.
And then we had Kobe's 95 millimeter Swaro that goes up to 7 million or whatever.
Yeah,
Big
So-
dog.
30
we
to
had-
infinity.
We had both in spotters and binos. We had different, kind of sizes and different things like that.
Yeah, that's
So-
actually a really, between the two of you, that's a
Yeah.
cool range. You had
It
everything
was.
from
Yeah.
10 to
Yeah.
90.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Pretty wild.
Yeah, so it was pretty handy, and we weren't glassing super far away, so it actually, I just couldn't believe we didn't find things more. So it was crazy. Yeah, we got back because we stayed till last light on the mountain, and then had that hike out that night was horrible. The amount of just kind of deadfall and burns and just different things. It was just painful.
No,
Yeah, it was-
no trail.
No, not the way we kind of looped. And so we went in on a trail in the morning because I wanted to hit it first light. And I knew if we were planning some of the deadfall
Yeah.
and stuff, we would be late. And we got there at a great time. It was before the sun came up over the mountains. We probably had a half-hour glass and, to be able
Yeah.
to really glass things up. And then the sun came out. But on the way out, the way we'd gone, kind of looped it around. And, yeah, it was brutal.
I think just that first part, that first day, is to me the difference in mule deer and elk hunting. Like people always ask, what's your favorite thing to hunt? Finding big mature mule deer. They don't bugle.
Yeah.
They don't just let you know where they're at.
They also don't-
you can't bugle back to them.
And they also don't stick out like a sore thumb on the side of a mountain.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
looking at a giant yellow school bus, essentially, when you're looking at an
Right.
elk and glassing an elk.
Right.
It's very
Exactly.
rewarding when you
Yeah.
find a good buck.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's that challenge that keeps you going back for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so fun. So you went back to the cabin, slept in the bed, and
So we probably 11:30 to 3:45. We got a good night's sleep.
and you're super
Yeah.
enthused because you haven't seen hardly a mule deer. So
Yeah, I was then beginning to wonder the whole week at that point, and what were we thinking? It was too hot and the winter kill and this and that and the other. And Kobe was thinking about the same.
Kobe's like, "This is a boondoggle. What are we doing?"
Yeah. Never being in this spot before, it's one of those things like, okay, I know the potential's here, but I know the history of the winter kill. I know we can get into them, but are we gonna, And so my mindset going into day 2 was kind of, all right, I have a list of a couple things, couple reels, photo assets to get for us to, make it worth it per se. And so my mind's kind of on that route as we're hiking in the second day after we hike up the wrong hill.
Different
to
area.
start.
Same area?
Different area, same unit, different area, different hike-in,
different drainage kind of thing.
different country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went there, and neither of us, all of us that were there.
Both of us.
So Koby was focusing on kind of just work and content and everything, and I just want to find a buck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Koby
And
I was gonna say like challenging there though, right? So like you're the camera guy, so like you're trying not to be too much of the story, but like you have to keep this like positive energy and like gotta keep going. I know how you like operate too, and it's like, was there any part of you like, 3:45, I wish we would have just camped there? Or
No.
what is your mindset when things are tough as a camera guy?
On this situation, I was all in on the not doing backpacking. Like, I think there's certain scenarios where it is smarter to do what we did, which this is one of them. Like, you can sustain that for a couple days and make it worth it without carrying that extra gear on your back, like having to go back to camp rather than like we would have wanted to relocate out of that first area.
You'd have come
day
out
one
anyway.
So
And
there's certain scenarios that it makes sense to do that. But day one, I was honestly more focused on glassing up a buck than I was taking photo or video. I was like we need to find a deer because that's what's going to make this happen. So then day two, I kind of had flipped that switch to like, all right, I'll still do some glassing, but I need to get stuff to make it worth it, reels, photos type of stuff. So that's kind of where my mindset was at.
We also I knew that by going in, the two of us could pretty easily pack out a mule deer just in one trip with our day pack. But I knew if we were camping and had, tents and sleeping bags and kind of a full deal.
Complicates it.
Yeah, I know some guys are listening, I can do that. Well, I can't. So I'm not as young as I used to be, and just weight pounds are more relative and seem to weigh more than they used to. So I was like, look, if we got all at camp, depending on how far we are, that could be 2 trips. Where I was like, look, if we both go in there, kind of go light, go somewhat efficient, we can get a buck on our back if we need to and get it out of here. So that was kind of another reason for that.
Good plan.
But you wouldn't have wanted to do that for like 6 days in a row.
No.
But for 2, we're like, let's just go all in.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So new drainage, went up this stupid steep hill that's not a trail.
And then came off of it because there's a creek in between us and the actual hill we have to go up. So it's like there was no way that ridge line.
So it wasn't the wrong part of the hill. It was just the wrong hill.
Like completely the wrong hill.
You got to remember, we started in the dark. It was weird.
Oh, that's hard.
No moon, like dark.
It was super, we were tired. Like, we didn't have that much coffee.
Yeah,
and I'm just
you
like,
slept
here's
for
the
like
fence
3
line.
hours.
Let's get out and just walk the fence line.
I didn't think twice about it, but yeah, as we're going up that hill, I'm like, how did horses get up this? I'm hardly getting up it.
Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes you just look at your phone and then you just you're like, okay, time to put your head down and go to work on the hill. And then you look and you're like, what did I just do?
And I know Koby always goes, I run real hot. And then pretty soon I hear Koby go, I'm just dripping in sweat.
It was right off the bat.
That's great.
Like 10 minutes in, I'm like, holy cow.
So we knew we needed to get up to this lookout spot. And so we were kind of going up a creek and then got up on a ridge line and ran that for a while. And last little bit, I was like, that hill's making us just, sun wasn't up, but it was like that early glassing, like we weren't in the spot, where when I wanted to be, because it was so hot. I knew maybe to try to get an older buck. It's like, let's really get there first light. And so, we got in position, and right off the back, Koby goes, I like this spot. I mean, you could see.
Felt good.
It had that feeling of like ruggedness and just like big buck country. I don't know. That's like, it's hard to explain, but it just had that, it did have that feel to it. And it was also kind of one of those spots that's like, it might not be like 10 miles back in the back country, but it's a spot that it might be overlooked per se.
And it's the same area I was there 3 years ago. That's where I shot that velvet buck that's down in the showroom. Yeah. In this area. It's 170 something, really cool velvet buck that I shot in rifle season, which was kind of cool. And you could glass that. We were well over a mile and a half maybe from that hill. But I'd been to that area and so was pretty excited about it. So we get up there, and like as we're coming in, I'm just like, there's some of these hills and knobs. Like if there's anything out, and trying to get in a position. So I guess just tell the story like it went.
Yeah.
I sit down, and Koby says, I'll be right back. And so he had to kind of go over the hill and relieve himself.
Yeah,
Some
that
early
happens.
morning paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to file some paperwork. And while he was filing paperwork, literally he just gone, I just pulled up my binos.
Boom.
First hill I looked at, I'm like, that's a good buck. So Koby comes back over the hill, and I'm just like, get down, like.
How far are we talking?
850, 840.
Okay, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And just happened to be on the hillside below where we almost crested. And we almost crested the hill that he was working up, but we ended up coming a couple hundred yards towards our direction.
We'd have blown him
cresting.
if we'd have gone like 50 yards more one way. So
Yeah.
we probably might have been 200 yards from him on our way in as we came up over
Oh,
him and
no
then around
kidding.
way
Yeah.
over to here and looked back to him.
Huh.
I think one of the keys to that too is that we never got to the top of that ridge to have our thermals drop in, to that other
And
side.
we intentionally knew that was maybe going to be a good area, so we were trying to kind of stay on the other side.
Huh.
And so it was just him and then a small buck, a real small buck with him. At first glance, all I knew was like he had good forks. He was a 4x4 with good
Just
forks.
deep forks.
And so, yeah, I mean, he was the bigger than all those bucks we saw the day before.
Bigger than all, none of those?
It took me a second to process that one.
He wasn't as big as some of the bucks, that I've shot there before, and so I knew that there'd been some other bucks kind of seen up in that area and stuff, and but I just knew, okay, this buck is it's got 4 good forks, and
It's a great buck.
yeah,
Beautiful.
he's a good buck, and it was one of those moments where I'm like, okay, I can either try to shoot this buck now or regret it all the way back tonight that I didn't.
Right.
Or, but at that point we hadn't glassed everything else. The sun was also coming up, and it was starting to get.
Was he like just feeding around? Was he
Yes.
moving?
He's feeding
Okay.
with this other smaller buck, but like not far away from areas that he would have got lost real quick.
Right.
So time was kind of the essence.
Yeah. He kind of had 2 escape routes. If we were looking directly at him, he could have gone to our left or over the top, or kind of what we were thinking he might do.
Right. So we knew it was a matter of minutes. Sun was coming up directly behind him, which means that then
Right
when
in
you
your
started
eyes.
to look
Yeah,
in.
good.
In fact, when Koby went to get footage of him real quick before we were going to go move into position and stalk him,
It was just like yellow in the spotter.
he got his spotter and videoed the little like dinky fork or whatever he was with.
Because you couldn't see anything.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. I was like, "Yep, there's a deer."
There's
in
an ungulate.
frame. Yeah,
Yeah, it has a white butt. So he videoed the wrong buck. And so, we knew time was kind of there, and it was one of those things for me of like, man, I really want to glass and see what else is out there. It was one of those like the curiosity of what could have been there for another 30 minutes to an hour of glassing, but knowing this buck was a matter of minutes, or we might just lose him. We could possibly go find him bedded into the large, area that he was in, near of timber, and find him again in the 80-degree heat after we'd seen no bucks the day before. So it was kind of like running that, kind of back and forth in my mind to see like, and frankly, before the sun came up and in my little spotter, just didn't have a really good opportunity to like glass him up for a while. It was just got to make a decision.
Yeah.
yeah. It was one of those things like we just hemmed and hawed over it a lot right here, but at the time it wasn't
Right.
much.
We just spent a lot more time right now.
Yeah,
than
we
had.
definitely just like got things packed up and made a move closer to him, and to determine what the best play from there was. So.
Yeah.
So then did you guys like kind
So
of
we
turn around and went back
So we
the way you
chopped
came?
off the back of the ridge so that he couldn't see us, and we kind of came around and ended up poking over because it was either then there, which ended up being 615-ish, 615 yards, or like go get right on top of him, like
With
go
a bad
archery
with a
stalk
bad
him.
wind.
Yeah, go archery stalk him with the wind coming on him at 50 yards.
It
was
turns
kinda
out that
the two
doesn't work
options.
real good.
I'd had experience in that. And so the wind was fairly light. So we set up there because we just kind of came over. actually what happened was when we came off the back of that hill and then came around and had dropped those 225 yards, wasn't there, neither buck. And so I thought, gosh, as we peeled back, they might have seen a skyline for a second because the sun was on us, but not them. The sun was right behind them. And so I thought, man, and I was just like, we just lost him. And I'm like, well, we'll glass up another buck, blah, 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 and or find where he was. And then he came back over, he'd gone up and over the hill. And he came back with a doe.
Yeah. This doe just pops out of nowhere. Adam's like, I got a doe. Are you sure that was a little buck with him? I'm like, I'm 100% sure.
So it was a little buck, the big buck, and the doe.
And all of a sudden, they're just, on that skyline.
He went and got his girlfriend.
I guess so.
Yeah. So they got there, and so we set up lots of grass and lots of trees and kind of one of those, like, hard to get Koby's camera and my scope in a good shootable spot through the sticks in front of us.
Yeah. It was easier for me because I could get off the ground out of the grass.
I was prone.
Being prone on a bipod.
Yeah.
He ran into a little more grass issue, but then also the dead tree that was in front of us had branches coming off of it left and right. And at one point in time, the deer was on the right of the trunk for him, but the left of the trunk for me. Yeah. Type of deal.
And sticks coming through and didn't know trajectory of that bullet at a little over 600 yards. It's going to go up a little bit. And, so just trying to get a clear thing. And there were times where I was clear and Koby wasn't. And Koby was clear and I wasn't. And so it was a hectic, short period of time.
It was probably 8-10 minutes, I believe, what my camera is rolling at.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so he did give us that time. And then... so I was down on the ground. I had the new Mark V Backcountry Guide TI, and so I had the bipod, that Spartan bipod, kind of put right in there, so it was able to get down on the ground real quick. Had to do some weed whacking with my hands in front of me,
pulling stuff,
type of scenario. I just wanted to be stable, and it's kind of the only way to get stable. I was shooting a 300 Weatherby with the 195 hammer, and was pretty confident in it, and it was pretty light wind. So all those things said, okay, think I'm gonna take this buck, and then it was a matter of getting them in the scope and not behind a tree. Well, about the time we're just about ready, you could tell, when a buck's feeding, and then all of a sudden the buck goes, yeah, I'm probably gonna start moving to bed.
Yeah.
Or moving to a different area. Like he started to do that, quickly.
You could just instantly see like a flip. His switch flip. It was like, oh, done feeding. I'm taking more than one step at a time. It was like 3 or 4 steps. He'd walk out of the frame and be like, I got him. He's clear. I'm like, nope, out of the spotter.
Oh, yeah, that's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we did that for just a little bit. And then he popped in. I thought he wasn't even going to stop again because he was taking several steps at a time and headed to this timber. And so I'm like, we're going to lose him. And so he was quartering away. And he bent down to feed, I think.
He did reach down to feed.
Get a little munch.
And that's where I popped it off. And immediately I just hear from Koby, you dropped him.
Yeah, just dropped like a sack of rocks.
No kidding. Never moved.
So we dropped him. And then basically he was quartering away. So I aimed obviously further back to have it then go through the vitals. And actually hit a little right and a little high. So it wasn't a, perfect shot, I guess you would say. But basically I spined him. And so, and later and looking at my dope, I kind of know the things I did wrong and different things, but I immobilized him till I could finish him off.
Sure.
So then ended up getting one right through his heart and rolled him down the hill. So he wasn't going anywhere at all. But Koby got a great shot. The sun was on the bullet actually in the air.
It's wicked.
Yeah.
And it's a really good shot. I mean, I was bummed because it wasn't
perfect.
It wasn't a perfect shot, but it immobilized him right, which was good. Rather than gut shotting him or doing whatever, it was, I was happy about that. So wasn't, as I watched it, like, it ended up being probably an MOA right and an MOA high, and it was hard to know exactly what the wind was doing at that distance. So I think the wind certainly got me there, and with elevation, me doing some calculations later, I kind of figured out probably what I did wrong. So it was a little high and a little right, but yeah, it was it happened, and we got him, and it was like a crazy moment because like just after the emotions the day before, kind of being like cool. You just want to go home, type of feeling.
Right.
To like, we get there to set up, just find a buck, and a few minutes later we're like,
this is happening.
We're gonna be sleeping in our beds tonight with a buck, and so it was it was kind of cool the way it went down.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was a pretty wild feeling to be like the whole day before of nothing, and then like instantly first thing it's like, whoa, what do I do? Like, all right, let's go do this.
Yeah.
So but that shot I got in the swirl of it, I didn't run 240 frames a second. I ran 120 because it was just low enough. Like there wasn't light on that hillside. I was like, So it's sweet in 120, but you can see that bullet the entire 600 yards because the sun's coming towards us, and so that bullet is just shining.
You can pause
the
it on the
entire
bullet.
way.
The whole way.
The whole way.
Okay. Usually
It's-
it's just like that last, 100
No.
yards.
It's because
or
of the
The whole
perfect
way.
light where he was in the shade and the bullet was in the sun.
Yep.
That's
It's
cool.
It's wicked.
Oh,
Yeah.
can't wait to see that.
It was pretty cool. So so went over there and got some pics, some video, and cut up the animal, and it was cool. That day was Koby's 1-year anniversary working at
It
Weatherby.
was.
Man, happy
so-
anniversary to
Thanks.
Kobe.
I put
You
a
get
bunch
to
of
pack
weight
out
on
a
his back
deer.
to congratulate him.
Yeah. Got to take the hinds out and have a good hike out. But no, I couldn't have thought of a better way to spend my 365th day of being here. So
It's awesome.
Yeah, it was 3.5 miles going out, and it was getting hot, but it wasn't even the heat of the day yet because we shot them in the morning and stuff. And so
ideal.
Just kind of, I made Kobe some tacos, or they elk tacos or something.
Yeah.
For my Colorado back at the cabin, like 1 or 2 o'clock.
Nice.
It was great.
Can't beat that.
No, can't beat it.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah,
Awesome.
so it was one of those like it was actually 48 hours. When we were flying back, we realized it was like 4 p.m. Wednesday and 4 p.m. Monday we had headed out there. So in 48 hours we went and did a kind of a backcountry, high country mule deer hunt. Came home with a good 4x4. What else do you want?
Idaho's so awesome.
Right. When I say Western Wyoming, it's those Idaho tags. It's a great place. You should move there.
Yeah.
Man, it just kind of goes to show, though, just like you could have been like, it's too hot, but let's just go back to the office. But it's like, it was kind of a physically demanding hunt, but it's just like that little bit of mental like push through. It's like it can happen at any time. You had one day of hunting all day long, and then the next day, it can just happen.
I think
Positive
it's
hunting attitude. Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, and we always talk about like if you have a tag in your pocket, there's a chance, and so if you go out and put some effort in, you got a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was fun. So I got a local buck around here. Brenda's going to try to find him on October 15th. And we'll see.
That's kind of the cool thing about the shotgun start of different dates. It's not like a giant long liberal season like a Montana season where you have 6 full, chunks of weeks, but you have these like shotgun starts where it's like you can kind of bounce around, right? Oh, whoops.
Tyler just turned the
I just
TV
turned
on.
the
How'd you do that?
You want to watch movies?
It's a smart TV.
No, it is awesome. It's also, it can be challenging. Like you have to like carry the big game regs with you
You do,
almost.
yeah.
There's so many different units that do different things, and sometimes they're right next to each other and they're vastly different, but it's pretty awesome. Gives a lot of opportunity to hunters.
Yeah, it's interesting, but just getting my residency here and everything and being able to dive into that, I'm like confused, I'm like, I need to go through just every elk unit, every deer unit, and just like write it down on paper of like, you can hunt at these dates and this and that to like kind of get it in my head of like writing it down, I feel like almost. But I am excited to check out all the opportunities that it holds.
That's the number one thing I tell people like when they first move here is make sure you understand every unit that you're in, because you're in a spot, but it could be this unit number for deer, this unit number for elk, this unit number for antelope. And a lot of times you can hunt them all concurrently, but you may not realize it. I've had more than one friend that was out on a deer hunt and saw elk that he could have shot on a general tag that he would have shot, but he didn't know.
That happened to John Solberg.
It's happened to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a cool state.
It is a great state. I ended up getting back and wanted revenge with my bow, so went and did that this weekend, just to make sure I could do a thing. So I did a thing yesterday on an antelope, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
After I got back.
Punched your antelope buck tag.
Yes, punched the antelope buck tag right before archery ended and right before rifle season started. It doesn't mean I'm good with a not rifle because it's really hard. But that was fun yesterday, actually, to get back and do that.
That was fun.
So,
And you did make a perfect shot on it. You showed me the shot placement, and it was
Yeah. Put one through the heart, and he ran 20 yards, tipped over, and so it was good. So occasionally it works out. So about another 53 stalks from now, I'll do it again. So, right?
yeah. I hear you on those odds. I think I'm at like over 35 antelope stocks with the bow this year.
That's what we need to.
We make rifles here at Weatherby.
What do they say? Muskie is the fish of 1,000 casts.
10,000
10,000
casts.
Oh, 10,000 casts.
Yeah.
So we need mule deer. It's the animal of 50 stalks.
Yeah.
My favorite, actually, one of my favorite moments was when through Adam's like mule deer bow hunting experience was he was in my office and there's like 30 guns in my office. He's like, "What are we doing? There's 30 guns in here that say Weatherby on them, and we're out chasing stuff with those." So it was pretty funny.
That was.
You know what?
Funny
I think
to
it's
see that.
cool that you got the passion to go out and do that. It is fun. You know,
Oh, yeah.
we all get antsy coming up on rifle
Yeah.
season, and the deer have been moving. And you're
Yeah.
watching them like, we can do something about this, or at least try.
Yeah.
It's
But yesterday I was sitting there at 70, 80 yards from this, small herd antelope and this buck, and small bucks came in, tried to chase him away. He was herding his does, and then you got to lay there kind of breathless, and get within distance and wind and everything. It's just makes you a better hunter. It's fun,
It is
and
fun.
then occasionally it ends up with punching your tag, but if not, it's the pursuit of game and it's fun.
Yeah.
So it's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Agreed.
congrats on
Yeah.
a cool buck.
Thanks. It was a fun hunt. I'm glad we did it. And
Likewise.
yeah, I'm already looking forward to next year. It's hard in Wyoming because you can have these, like I could have, tagged the deer here. It could have gone there. It turns into a white, I can do a whitetail later. That's what I actually did last year, was use my general to actually shoot a whitetail for the first time. So once it's punched, it's kind of a,
Oh man.
yeah, exactly. But I'm rooting for Brenda for that buck that I was chasing.
It was a good. Someone needed to break the seal on the team, so it was good for someone to go out there and
Yeah.
get it done. So,
Yep.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of season that kind of starts tomorrow.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we've actually got
yeah.
a ton of customers in right now that are headed out in different directions. We got suppliers in that are going antelope hunting, and
I got some friends from California are going to be at my house in 1 hour from now. And old friend, he's bringing his 12-year-old or 13-year-old son for his first opportunity, big
Awesome.
game out here. And
Nice.
so going to be doing that tomorrow morning, opening morning with them. So
That'll be
it's
super
that time
fun.
of year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff, There's nothing like, I remember when Connor, my son, or Dana, they took their first thing at 12 or 13. And you know how it is.
Oh yeah,
You've experienced
it's a blast.
it. It's fun. It's fun. So I'll be doing that tomorrow morning. So maybe there'll be more stories.
I
So
think there's going to be a few more stories this year.
yeah.
I do have a lot of stories hunting with kids, so it can be hard sometimes if they're not patient. Real hard.
It's hard. It is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's some more stories for the rest of the season, and some more products that are still in the works that we're working on getting to market ASAP, and we're going to keep testing those.
Yeah, I was gonna say product testing season.
Kobe's got more films too. We just launched that New Zealand film, and it's
Yeah.
just like film after film this kid's doing over here. So you gonna make up a little film on this mule deer hunt?
Yeah, I think I am. It's going to be a quick hitter. It's going to be a fun one, I think. We'll keep it kind of light, breezy, and fun. But
This is
Yeah.
the hill that we shouldn't have gone up, but did.
yeah, I have no film of that. But
The whole way out,
have.
when we were packing out, we saw the hill. In the morning, we never saw the hill.
Yeah.
And he's like, "That's it." I'm like, "No, that thing's huge." He's like, "We hiked to the top of it."
And then we got back to the car, and you're like, "Yep, that
Yep,
was it."
That's the one.
was
That's
so good.
awesome.
But yeah, New Zealand did just release. So if you haven't seen There and Back Again, Backcountry Hunting New Zealand, go to our YouTube and check that out. That is my best video work I've ever done. So really proud of that piece.
First
And
couple comments were like, "This is the best video yet."
Yeah,
So-
so super rewarding, and what an epic adventure that was. So yeah, check it out.
Here's to many more.
Yep. Let's go.
Cheers.